Look at all of the ways that they come to God. First of all, let me point out something. Oh, no, we'll get to that later. Look at all the ways they come to God. There is in verse 2. We have that back on the screen, okay?
Then it started working.
Seek me daily, delight in all my ways, asking the ordinances of justice. They're asking for justice. They delight in approaching God. They're fasting, afflicting their soul.
But it's not working out. What do you need
As
about
if they're
that?
righteous.
Because there's only one user.
There it is. Yet they seek me daily and delight to know my ways. As a nation that is righteous. They're doing all these things like they're supposedly
What I'm
righteous
saying is,
people,
this
okay?
is working great.
They persuaded themselves, because of all of those things they're doing, they persuaded themselves that they really want God. They are just God people. They're deluded. They don't see the real problem, and that's going to be fleshed out here in this chapter. Something is wrong. They're seeking God, delighting to know God. We saw that in verse 2. They're asking God for justice. They're delighting in the nearness of
That
God.
goes from that board down there.
Fasting and afflicting
There's a jack right
themselves.
next to it.
Does that all sound good?
What's in
Okay.
here? This is the
But
other
if
one.
you would look back with me at verse 1,
Upstairs. So it
cry aloud, and spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet. Now that's not,
Okay. And I can spend all night trying to solve it like I did
oh
Sunday
no,
night.
he says,
I'm
cry
still tired. I'd fall
aloud
asleep, then I'd fall
like a trumpet.
off the railing.
Spare not, don't hold back.
Surface.
They need to know something here, and then he tells them, it's sin.
So I'll try not to fall
Their transgressions, show my people their transgressions. So verse 2, they're doing all these good things. God says, hey, you gotta go talk to them. They think they're okay because of everything that they're doing. How can all of those things be wrong?
and I'll either come back in.
Those things in verse 2, because they all sound pretty good, don't they? I mean, they kind of got us beat on those, unless you're the type that fasts regularly, okay, and equip yourself with fasting. I'm sure most of us are doing all the other things.
Too loud, just
And
suffocate.
God said something's wrong.
And then my wife will know I'm asleep.
Let's ask this question. Why do people do those things? There in verse 2. Why do you think people do those things? Ethan, start us off. To feel good about themselves. Would y'all agree with that? Yeah, okay. What are some other reasons that people do those things? Cheryl. Oh, okay. All right, good. Yes. I thought I saw a hand up over here. Pat. More of God's favor. Okay. All right. Anybody over on this side? These folks over here are deep thinkers. They're going to come up with all kinds of answers here. Just a moment. What do you think? What was the common theme of all those answers? This side is the answer to that question. Self. Okay. Now let me ask another question. Along with that one there, why do people do these things? What was yours again? They feel good about themselves. Someone else. They feel important. And Pat? Self-righteousness. Okay. So those are some reasons people do these things here in verse 2. Now, let me ask it a little bit differently. Why do people come to Grace Baptist Church and not other churches? Because people come here, instead of going to other churches, they maybe try other churches, and they come here. Why? What have you heard? The church is preached. All right. Yes. They feel welcome. Yes. Anything else? I hear some whisper. Yes, that's right. The truth. They feel welcome. Yes. Oh yeah, we've got all these different programs. Okay. I have had people visit here, and then when I connect with them afterwards, here's what they tell me. Oh, when I first came to Grace, I mean, of course, friendly. We're all friendly. But when I came to Grace, it was like when I walked in the building and your worship service, I just felt the Spirit of God. That's a good thing. Okay, I'm not downplaying any of these things. But it's based on experience, the experience that we had here, or they had, the emotion they felt when they were here, a feeling that they had when they were here. Now think about it. You take that, all of that away, okay, what would a person say about our church? What's the opposite of all that? 4 legs. Cold. Starts with a D. Dead. That's a dead church. I didn't feel anything when I was there. The worship services, total coldness. It's like you're in a freezer. Okay? All right. So, is worship just about feelings? No. Are feelings part of worship? Absolutely. So in the concept, it's this concept here that some people have put forward. People today can become They love to worship. There seems to be a worship movement on today that started even a couple of decades ago. And people just love to worship, and they love to have these worship experiences, okay? And I'm not saying raising hands is wrong. I don't believe it is. We're going to lift holy hands in heaven, so some of y'all maybe need to start practicing that now. I don't know. But there's this people are in search of a worship service where there's worship of God, okay? Now, what happens is sometimes people fall in love with the worship experience instead of falling in love with the God whom they're worshiping. Oh, how do you know the difference? Here's how you tell. Turn on the lights and turn off the music and see how many people stay to worship. Serious. The lights, physiological effect. It's intentional to create an atmosphere. Okay? If you're taking your special someone out for Valentine's Day, okay? If you didn't, hopefully I'm not opening a can of worms for you. But you take them out to a nice restaurant for Valentine's Day. Describe the room for me. Low lights. Yep, low lights. You're not going to have bright stadium lights, okay? It's going to be low lights and soft music. Both of those things create emotions. And advertisers know this as well. And so do churches. So the worship experience, for some, I'm not saying across the board, but some people tend to fall in love with the experience rather than the God whom they should be worshiping. So they are, the word was mentioned earlier, self-indulgent. Let's see how these people were. These in verse 58, self-indulgent. Verse 3 starts with their question. What's wrong? Okay. What do you mean? What's wrong? What are we doing wrong? And then verse 3 ends with the answer to that question. Okay. It ends with the answer. I'll go ahead and read the end. Behold, in the day of your fast, here's how you're wrong. You find pleasure and exact all your labors. Verse 4, behold, ye fast for strife and debate, to smite with the fist of wickedness. Ye shall not fast as ye do this day, to make your voice to be heard on high. All right, hypocritical worship is being exposed here. They're fasting. And he says there in verse 3, while you're fasting, you're finding pleasure for yourself. You're doing these things for your own pleasure. And in fact, while you're doing these religious things, there's strife and there's debate at the same time. People, they're complaining that God is ignoring their fasting. That was in the first part of verse 3. We fasted, and it seems like you don't notice. We're doing these things, and it's like you're taking no knowledge of what we're doing. It's like you're not paying attention, okay? They're complaining that God's ignoring them while simultaneously pursuing their own selfish interests. They're exploiting their workers. They're acting contentiously. There's strife among them, all while they're worshiping. Something's not right here, okay? Now, here's where we can all say, or maybe not all of us. I don't fast, so I'm off the hook. This doesn't apply to me. Hold on a second. Remember, I started off by saying this is Isaiah. It's a book of prophecy, okay? So this chapter is not here to be a teaching on fasting, but we can learn something from this. And when we apply this principle to us, oh no, do we have to do that? Yes, we do, okay? So let me ask you a few questions and see how this applies to us. God worked how many days? 6. And what did he do on the 7th? Rested. So he did no work on the seventh. 6 days, work, 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 work. Seventh day, nothing. What's another word for that? Fast. He fasted from work on the seventh day. Okay? Now, what do we call that seventh day? The Lord's Day, right? The day of rest. We work 6 days a week. God says, do what you want. Seventh day, it's a day of rest. And I'm going to demonstrate it for you. It's a fast from work, so to speak. So what makes it the Lord's Day? The seventh day. What makes it the Lord's Day? What do you think? Because he rested. Yeah, because he said it's the Lord's Day. But what makes it the Lord's Day? What do we do to make it the Lord's Day? Go to church? Right. What else? Worship him? Okay, right? How long does all that last? An hour? Okay. For some, 0. Okay, well, we're not going to go there. Maybe. We might go there. We've got to make sure, because it's the Lord's Day, we're good Christians and we love Jesus. So Sunday's God's day. So we've got to make sure we do our church thing every Sunday. Whether for some people it's Sunday morning. Some people it's Sunday school Sunday morning. Some people it's Sunday school Sunday morning, Sunday night. We've got to make sure we do our church thing Sunday morning, and then the rest of the day is ours. I thought it was the Lord's Day. Here's a concept for you. I'll just throw this out. This is how my mind thinks sometimes during the week. You should be afraid, very afraid, okay? If it's the Lord's Day, what about this? Because some churches, they've gone to one service, and there are people in the church that love it. Because they like, do the church thing, and the rest of the day, we go to the beach, we go shopping, we go to the park, we go out. Exalting God's kingdom. We're praying for God's kingdom exalted. That's what verse
7
We need to say no.